Hello guys and welcome back to the Popcorn Podcast. My name is Dylan, of course, and I'm finally ready to start talking about one of my favorite trilogies of all time, and that of course is Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight Trilogy. This is probably my favorite trilogy of films of all time, like I just said. Maybe perhaps behind Lord of the Rings. They've always been neck and neck. And I couldn't be more excited to start off with, of course, Batman Begins. Just very quickly though, I am currently doing a series on this channel where I'm going through all of the Christopher Nolan directed films in the lead up to Tenet, of course, and giving my thoughts, my reviews, of course, on each of these films. Be sure to check out my previous couple of videos. They've been on the Prestige, but without further ado, let's get into Batman Begins. Now, just a little background information to kick things off. In 2003, after the success of Insomnia and Memento, of course, Warner Brothers hired Christopher Nolan to reboot their most prized possession, and that of course is Batman. I think it's fair to say that the most recent films of the character were just bad, with Batman and Robin being one of the worst superhero films to this day. With the help of Batman expert David Goyer, Nolan wrote and pitched the script to Warner Brothers, which was eventually greenlit by them. The film was released in 2005 and the rest is history. Now, at the time of the release of Batman Begins, I was only 6 years old, and I don't think I remember watching this film till I was around 8 years of age, and all I remember is that it was not what I was expecting from a superhero film. I didn't understand all the aspects to do with the film, of course, since I was very young, but I do remember absolutely loving Batman Begins. I am such a big lover for the comic book genre, and to this day, whenever anyone asks me, "Oh, Dylan, what is your favorite comic book superhero origin story?" my answer is always Batman, and that of course is in part due to this film, Batman Begins. The first act of this film is one of my favorite first acts of a film ever. It is of course told with Christopher Nolan's signature style of non-linear narrative as we skip between Bruce Wayne's past and present. I think this technique really added depth to Bruce Wayne as a character. It allowed us to see him train with the League of Shadows, whilst understanding his fears, his motivations, why he is afraid of bats, and also the heartbreak that comes with the death of Thomas and Martha Wayne. We'll talk about Christian Bale's performance in just a second, but I just want to kick things off by saying Liam Neeson in this film is so great. He isn't just a normal antagonist with evil intentions. He's a character that is very layered, and out of the three main villains for all these three films, Liam Neeson's Ra's al Ghul is the one that has the most personal connection to Bruce Wayne as a character. He's the one who trains him, who shows him how to fight injustice, and that is why later on in this film, their rivalry feels so much more personal. To me, it's quite hard to believe that this film is almost 2.5 hours, because once Bruce Wayne returns back to Gotham, the film flies. And the next thing you know, you're already at the end of the movie. I really love the scenes where you get to see Bruce Wayne's character actually transition into that Batman character. You know, the Batcave underneath Wayne Manor, when him and Fox go into applied sciences and, you know, check out all the gadgets, the Tumblr, of course. And I think Christopher Nolan really nailed that aspect of Batman in this film, you know, his resourcefulness. I can't, of course, not talk about the Batmobile in this film because it's just every nerd's wet dream. The Tumblr chase sequence is probably my favorite action scene in this whole film. It's just f***ing amazing. And of course the score by Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard, which collectively as a trilogy, this is one of my favorite scores of all time. Together they really captured that complex character of Bruce Wayne as well as the epic exuberance of course Batman. I was lucky enough to see a full orchestra perform a mix of themes from the Dark Knight Trilogy at a Hans Zimmer's concert at the O2 Arena last year. It was just mesmerizing. Right, Christian Bale. You can always continue to argue and debate on who is the best Batman. Is it Kevin Conroy? Is it Michael Keaton? Is it Ben Affleck? And of course, although I do admire all of their performances and I'm very much looking forward to seeing Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves' version of the character, Christian Bale's performance as the Caped Crusader will, for me, always be the definitive version of Batman. As expected, Christian Bale gives 100% commitment as with any role he takes on. And to those of you who don't know, Christian Bale went from looking like this to this in just 6 months. Very few actors come even close to Bale's dedication to a role, and that is one of the biggest reasons why he is one of my favorite actors. in this film, Batman Begins, he so brilliantly captures the struggles and the complexity of the character of Bruce Wayne and brings that into fueling the grounded and gritty take on Batman. Now, the voice that Christian Bale does for Batman, you know, the "swear to me" and all that stuff, that was a really bad impression. His voice for the character has been a talking point in movies for a lot of years. And for me, it was really never an issue. I mean, I don't understand what the whole fuss was about his voice. It works in the world Nolan has created. Michael Caine as Alfred Pennyworth and Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox were also the definition of perfect casting. The film is very serious, and their characters come in and provide a bit of levity, a bit of humor to the film, and get moments like this.
Little the worse for wear, I'm afraid.
And this.
Didn't you get the memo?
Gary Oldman as James Gordon is also brilliantly casted in this film, and I was just thinking to myself the other day while rewatching Batman Begins how much of a rookie he is in this film, how inexperienced he is here as a detective compared to the next two films. And I think that the fact that Nolan chooses to explore James Gordon in this way really gave more meaning to some of the bigger moments for his character in the next two films. Cillian Murphy is also in this film as Scarecrow, and the story behind this casting is that Cillian actually auditioned for the role of Batman, but Christopher Nolan was so impressed that he casted him as one of the main antagonists of this film. Katie Holmes is also in this film, playing Bruce Wayne's childhood friend turned love interest. And even though I prefer Maggie Gyllenhaal's version of the character in The Dark Knight, I don't really have anything bad to say about Katie Holmes in this film. She gets a lot of stick for the role here, but I don't have any problems with her playing the character of Rachel Dawes. Now, one complaint that people have for the Dark Knight Trilogy is the hand-to-hand combat sequences. It's very quickly edited and you can't really tell what is going on a lot of the time. While I agree with that to an extent, and I think that it is worst in this film here, I feel like it significantly improves as we get to The Dark Knight and of course The Dark Knight Rises. In Batman Begins, fear is one of the biggest themes, and more importantly, how Batman turns his fear into those who prey on the fearful. I feel like Christopher Nolan wanted to bring that out in these fight scenes. For example, the first time you see Batman and he's beating the shit out of all of these thugs, it's very quickly cut and quite hard to follow, but then you're looking at it from the perspective of Falcone. It's supposed to look choppy, it's supposed to look discombobulated. I think the best thing I can really say about Batman Begins is that Christopher Nolan really takes the fundamental characteristics of what makes Batman Bruce Wayne one of the greatest fictional characters of all time and translates it beautifully to a great origin story for the big screen. He takes what the comic book fans love from the source material and grounds it in a realistic world. I think before you make a great superhero film, you have to make a great film. And I think that is exactly what Christopher Nolan, the cast and the crew did here in their first installment of the Dark Knight Trilogy. And for that reason, I'm going to give Batman Begins, of course, an A+. So yeah, those are my overall thoughts on Batman Begins. Let me know what you think of the film down below in the comments section, and of course, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. I cannot wait to talk about the next film, and that of course is The Dark Knight. So look forward to that video very soon. If you are new to this channel, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It will really help me out. And of course guys, take it easy and I will see you very soon in the next video.